Saturday morning, synagogue, Kiddush club. Kiddush is a Jewish blessing over wine. Kiddush club means, in this particular circumstance, that half the men in the shul leave the shul during the reading of the Haftorah, which is the reading from the prophets, and go to a separate place and make Kiddush, the blessing over wine. There'll be some fish and crackers and food as well. There'll usually be a brief Devar Torah. Devar Torah is a little talk based on the Torah. The Torah means the whole body of the sacred text of Judaism, which stretches for 3,000 years. So it's a social occasion, but because there's some religious rubric to it, it changes it from just purely guys getting together to drink alcohol and to eat. I don't drink alcohol, I don't like alcohol, and I don't eat at the Kiddush club because I always eat breakfast, and also I don't want to spend money supporting the Kiddush club. People like sponsor the Kiddush club to keep it going. So, but I like to get out of the synagogue and socialize. So this Sabbath morning, I'm outside of synagogue. I'm standing with my back against the wall, which is how I like it. It's because of my anxiety. I hate it when people come up from behind me and go, "Urgh." I hate any unexpected sounds behind me. I hate anyone coming up behind me and putting their hands on me, particularly with force. I will jump high. I will yelp. I don't like it. So I'm sitting there chatting with an acquaintance when my friend Jim walks by. And Jim's my best friend in the community. And as Jim walks by, I grab him, put my hands on him. I tell him, just one scoop. That's all I need. Just give me one scoop. One scoop could transform my social status. One scoop could make my website the next Drudge Report. One scoop could put money in my pocket. One scoop could help me find a wife. All I need is one scoop. Just give me one good story. And he stops and he turns to me and he says, "You need to transform your own life." And then he adds, "There might be a shul that will accept you, but we will never accept you." And I would have loved to have seen a video or a picture of my face at that moment, because I was crumbling inside. We will never accept you. Those words haunt me. Those words have haunted me my whole life. I joke in here about if you can ask a question that'll make me cry, I'll buy you lunch. Anything on that, I'm very vulnerable. And then he elaborates, and this is the reason that I just love Jim. Is that he's just so brutally honest. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't tell me or anyone what I want to hear. And another reason I admire this guy is that he's willing to go up against everybody in his peer group for what he believes is right. He'll go up against everyone in the synagogue, all his friends. He will state his opinions, no matter how unpopular it makes him. And so this will not make him unpopular, but he says, okay, we will never accept you. There might be synagogues out there that will accept you, I don't know. He says if you were smart, you'd move to Israel and you'd enroll in a yeshiva. A yeshiva is a Jewish Talmudic academy. And he said if you did that, you might very well find a 27-year-old woman to marry. And then he talks about there's just a wider selection of Jewish women, particularly Orthodox Jewish women, to marry in Israel, rather than what's available to me in Los Angeles. I just would have loved to have seen the picture of my face kind of crumbling, but not wanting it to show. And it didn't show so that anyone felt the need to soft pedal what was being said. And the reason it hit me like a dagger in my heart is that I knew it was true. Like, if he had told me, you're a lousy writer, that wouldn't have bothered me. If he told me, I watched the video of your one-man show on socks, that wouldn't have bothered me. If he said, you put on weight, that wouldn't have bothered me very much. People can only hurt you in the areas where you're vulnerable, and in areas where you're solid, nothing that anyone can say will bother you. But I knew he was right. And I've chosen this synagogue because I feel more comfortable there than elsewhere. I've been thrown out of 5 Orthodox synagogues. Now, albeit they were all before my official, formal Orthodox Jewish conversion, so I'm on much more solid ground now in the community. And also 4 of them were when I was still writing on the pornography industry. So as I'm not writing on the pornography industry anymore, I'm not as vulnerable. So I have conversations like this with Jim almost every week. And about 2 months ago, he came up to me and said, your blog is in danger of becoming irrelevant. And that didn't bother me, because I said, my blog became irrelevant years ago. I just stopped working hard on it. So I took up other pursuits. That didn't hurt. And like the next week, he came back and said, your one-man play, let's suppose it is successful. It's only going to further alienate you from your community. Orthodox Jews do not go for public discussions of eroticized rage and public discussions of all the women you slept with and public discussions of your past writing on the pornography industry. And they're not into public discussions of sex addiction. So even if it is successful, that's only going to further alienate you from this community. So I put this on Facebook, and Rebbitzin messaged me and said, you should choose Jim to be your mashpia. A mashpia is your spiritual advisor. So a mashpia teaches you how you can best serve God. He said, this guy really cares about you. This guy really gets it. And what he's saying is not so much that we will never accept you. He's saying we will never accept you as long as you insist on continuing to throw dirty stones in your own well that you drink from. Ouch. Like, it's because there's so much truth behind everything that was said to me that it hurts.
Where does it hurt? How do you experience the hurt?
It makes the distance between myself and my community.
But where does it register? Physically?
Both in the head, my face will flush, and in the heart. Because it makes that distance really tangible. See, I knew all this. I knew everything he said, but I would tell myself often, this is not true. I kind of knew it, felt it in my bones, everything that he said. We will never accept you. But I would tell myself it's not true, I'm not understanding it correctly, I'm not getting it correctly, I just have to get a few things right in my life and it'll all fall into place.
Why do you believe Jim?
Because I know it's true. It's like when people tell you something and you've been trying to deny it, but then there's like...
So is he voicing your own concerns?
He is voicing what my soul is telling me, but that my rational head is trying to deny and squelch and tamp down.
And do you think he cares about you?
Yeah, I think he cares about me.
Do you think he has an agenda?
About as little as is possible within Orthodox Judaism.
So he's completely objective?
No, he's not completely objective, but he is not among the... There are a lot of people who just treat you as fodder of the Torah. Like in Orthodox Judaism, it's like, you're fodder for the Torah.
What does that mean, and how does that play out?
That means their interest in you is only according to your devotion in Torah, in both observance and study.
What does it give them, or the Torah?
Well, the Torah is life to us.
No, but what does that mean then? How does that play out?
That plays out.
Like in Christianity, we're trying to save your soul.
Right, in Christianity, like my father and many people treat everyone they encounter as fodder for Christ. Like if my father can't instruct...
If you're fodder for Torah, what does that give Judaism, or what's the reasoning behind it? Or is it righteousness?
The reasoning behind it is that without Torah, there's nothing significant to being Jewish. It's like Torah is what keeps the Jews going.
Okay.
So there are a ton of people in Orthodox life who treat you according to whether you're going to observe or
So
not.
how did Jim react to your reaction?
He just kept going.
But he must have seen the herd. So what do you think that meant to him?
Well, maybe he saw the herd, then he transitioned to talking about Israel.
But how do you think it registered, and how did he respond to your hurt?
I think he understands that I care more about truth in these circumstances than my feelings. So we have a really brutally honest way.
So is he like Dennis Prager?
In many ways, he's someone I really enjoy talking to.
Is he like your father?
Yeah, in many ways, he's very
I'm guessing you probably realized that.
No, I didn't.
That both of them were willing to sacrifice popularity for their beliefs.
Yeah, that's true. My dad would sacrifice everything for his beliefs. Dennis Prager, too, though he's...
So I'm just wondering if that's the affinity.
I love people who have courage. Meaning, I love people who will stand up against everybody and say, you're all wrong.
Even if it's you.
Even if they're standing up against me, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just adore courage. And I guess my father had it. And so, yeah, I guess as a kid, I venerated that part of him.
So that's the highest moral principle for you.
Yeah, that's the highest moral principle for me is courage.
And so do you usually follow what Jim advises?
No. No, I venerate his courage. It doesn't mean that I follow what he says.
Okay. And does that bother him? That you ask his opinion? And you don't follow it?
No. No. He's not invested in me.
He's not?
No. He likes me, and he'd like me to do well, but it's not an investment.
So his ego doesn't get involved?
His ego doesn't get involved.
Okay. So now what?
So I have to face that I go through life putting myself in places where people don't want me. That's how I go through life. I keep putting myself in communities and groups that don't want me. And the typical example of this is in second grade, my classmate Gavin Brown had a birthday party. And so the people he invited were going to gather together and bike into the country. And I was not invited. And so my best friend Wayne was invited. And I was over that day playing with Wayne. And Wayne's mother spoke to Gavin's father said, hey, can't you take Luke along? And the father said, sure, we'll take Luke along. So Luke goes along to the party, and as Luke's biking along, the other kids say, hey, we never wanted you to come along. And nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
But some of what you said and why people don't want you in the community is based on the choices you've made.
It's all based on the choices I've made.
That's different than intrinsically you.
Yeah, it's not because I have this huge desire to belong, and I have this huge desire to say what I want to say and do what I want to do. They're about equal, but I will not control the desire to say what I want to say and do what I want to do.
So, do you want this to be the central conflict? Or is there a connection between this and the rage?
I didn't think about any connection between this and the rage.
Okay. Because you have to have a central dramatic conflict.
Yeah, that's.
So does this feel
that's a
stronger
separate-
for you, or does the other?
No, I'm going to do the eroticized rage April 4th. This is just new material.
Separate?
Separate.
Oh, okay. But I think that there is something
There's
there
probably,
about
yeah, there's
wanting
probably
to
something
belong,
there. Yeah,
and the rage of
yeah. I have so much
the
hostility.
abandonment,
Yeah, yeah,
abandonment and rage,
Yeah.
and
yeah. I have just so much hostility inside of me
right.
that it's beyond my conscious control. Like I can control it for hours at a time, and I can control it in certain circumstances, but it's always going to come out eventually. Like I can tamp it down for a while.
Right. So does it make you feel like Jekyll and Hyde? Or does it feel more in alignment? Is it not?
It does not feel in alignment. It is not in alignment. Because my desire to belong is just as strong as my desire to speak out. But my desire to speak out, I have not control.
Because that's how Jekyll felt. You know, the demon lurking within, and then
Right.
you didn't have any control and it would come out.
Right. And also, if you make one slip in what you say, that can destroy weeks and months of good behavior. Particularly if you got a tracker record, particularly if you got Google. So you can be on good behavior, and then you'll make one slip, and then people go, aha, that's his true self.
Okay. But always waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And then I guess the walking on eggshells.
Yeah, like I want to belong. That's so important to me to belong to an Orthodox Jewish community.
And why Orthodox?
It's much more interesting.
Because?
It's much more extreme.
And why is that interesting?
It's intense.
So is it just that it's more noble because of that amount of devotion?
I'll leave nobility out of it. It's just intense. Like in Reform and Conservative Judaism, whatever you want to do is great. Like you
So
come.
you've almost set it up.
Keep going. What do you mean?
Since it's so extreme and there's such a black and white, I'm guessing that maybe some of your choices would have been more acceptable.
I mean, it's easy for me to be in Reform and Conservative Judaism, relatively. Is that what you're
Do you
saying?
think you would be accepted in those?
It's easier, but of course I managed to alienate myself there as well.
You've been in those groups?
Yeah, I would never be kicked out of those groups.
Okay, so in a way, just setting it up almost to fail.
Yeah, I cannot be kicked out. No one's going to kick me out of Reform. Obviously,
Right, and you don't really want to be there.
And I don't really want to be there. But in Orthodoxy, it's passionate and it's tense
Right.
and it's exciting and it's dangerous.
Just go really, walk even slower, Catherine, and go on your ticket to John.
So there's just more. It's
So is it also
heightened.
that it
It's
engages you
heightened.
more?
Yeah, it engages me more. And it's also it's high intensity religion like I was raised in.
It was what?
It's high intensity religion like what I was raised in.
Okay.
So this is what's familiar to me. High intensity, traditional
Okay.
religion that people devote their lives to and argue about passionately.
Switch a star for a cross. Same thing.
Yeah, as far as commitment and passion and laying it on the line and kicking people out.
Okay, so it's dramatic.
It's dramatic. It's dramatic. I love the drama. I'm the drama.
And the courage.
Yeah, and then I feel so frightened. I remember walking into this one synagogue. I'd just been kicked out of 3 synagogues in the space of like 3 months. So this is the
And
fall.
what makes you not give up?
Well, because I've staked everything on it.
What? Why is your life...
I've staked everything. I've staked my life on a commitment
How so?
to Orthodox Judaism. So I can't
Promise
step
with
away
yourself,
from it.
promise with God? What's the
Neither.
contract?
I've just, the contract is I've put everything on this, and I've made so many contradictory twists and turns in my
What did
life.
you sacrifice
I
to get out
cannot.
of it? I mean, why... Explain that to me, and then we have to end. Why do you put your life... How so? What's at stake?
Well, you only have so much time and so many choices and so much you can do in your life.
Yes.
And I decided, here I stand, I can do no other, so help me God. I'm planting my flag in Orthodox Judaism.
So it's just a commitment.
It's a commitment.
Like a marriage.
It's like a
Death do
marriage.
us part.
Till death do us part.
Okay.
Because I've made so many contradictory twists and turns in my life. And also
Is
because...
this to make up for the other stuff? By making this...
No, it just makes me feel sick when I look at my life. Because my life is running absurdly with all my passion in this direction.
Right.
Like running over people, just like charging, giving up everything to go in this direction. And then suddenly stopping, wheeling around, giving everything I've got going in the opposite direction, running over people, just charging, sacrificing everything, going in the opposite direction, and then stop, wheeling around. And so it's just like this fruitless. And so here I stand. I can do no other, so help me God.
Okay. While he studied Alexander technique to stand completely properly. Okay. Anything that you discovered or that got confirmed?
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I admire my father for his courage, or did admire my father for his courage. And again, having to face how much I'm replaying his life.
Okay, so what was really wonderful is how active this was in great dramatic conflicts. So it really raised the stakes and that made it really engaging. And could you feel the difference
Yeah.
of when we get real moments and
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
wonderful?
Yeah.
So any questions or what would feel
Yeah,
good?
what takes people then, what they'd
Okay.
like to know more about.
Okay, all right.
Do you see yourself as courageous? One word answer.
So you don't, so it just sounds
No.
like, yes.
Yeah, one word answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a huge tension between you saying, here I stand, I've committed myself to Orthodox Judaism, and all of your behavior, which it's like you are going out of your way to alienate yourself from that community.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's courageous to plant your feet, and it's like, you look fucking noble when you did that. And I'm like, if that's true, then why is this dude doing everything in his power to piss off the community he's committed himself to? And that's fascinating.
And so this is a great example, and again, no judgment. Because,
Right.
yeah, it was really moving, but where the audience can see things clearer
Yeah.
than the character.
Yeah.
And also, and it's true of our own lives, it's so much easier to watch somebody else than when we can't see the whole big picture.
Yeah.
But we just see these forces, and then he's kind of setting it up to not win.
Yeah.
And yet he so believes, so passionately, he wants it so desperately. So these are, this is classic characters. This is what Shakespeare does. These are the things that he creates. Other comments?
I'm taken in by similar things. And also, well, 2 other things popped up. I loved the running back and forth and the visual of that and the physicality of that too. And then when you were doing that, I was like, I wonder, you always wear a jacket. And I feel like there's some kind of protection there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I was just thinking, what if he took his jacket off? What would that be like?
Right, and that echo of he's in a place of worship and he still doesn't feel safe. He has to have his back. So that thing of always being in danger no matter what, never feeling safe, even in a temple, even with his people.
Yeah.
So I thought that was also, that could be a moment where you could do real slow-mo about I can't have my back. And then to go into the physicality of that. And are there any memories, connections of when he didn't have his back covered? You know? Because I just think this is a great place to go flash forward and flash back. Yeah, this was just really, really engaging and dynamic.
You had a second point?
Yeah, I was thinking about pride. When you said you showed up to the birthday party, you knew you weren't invited to. I was thinking, oh, I would never do that, I'm too proud. But then you are proud. In a lot of ways, you're very proud. So, I don't know, I just thought that made me think about that. And also, drug dealers always stand with their back at the law. So just in case you decide to go in that direction,
Thanks.
you got that covered.
And it's primal, caveman,
Yeah, it is.
predator.
Right.
Yeah, the only way we can, yeah, there's a tape I've been listening to about meditation, and that he was saying the only way you can really feel safe, first of all, is the physical safety. Have something up against you to support you so you know you're not in danger. Any other comments? Then we need to move on.
I just wanted to reiterate the comment about when you started talking about how you admire people about courage. I think that's the first time that's ever come out, and I think that was really interesting. And I think it's a revelation for you about some feelings that you have for your father.
Mm-hmm.
That when you said that it came up,
Yeah.
and I think that was a real moment. It was a real moment, I think, for all of us that we haven't really seen.
Okay, great. Can you feel making it, so you made it really active. We got to a moment, so it wasn't all the psychological analysis. And you took us there. And it's fine in an improv, but don't worry. We didn't get the story because you had so much, you got bogged down by all the terms. Get into the story and then whatever little things you need to tell us. I mean, that's fine in the improv that you did that, but just we want to get into the story immediately. And whenever you have to cite, you can do that.